Rubin, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, author of the briefing book on Substack. I subscribe. You should too.
Thank you, Leila.
Welcome, my friend. Okay, you're not allowed to talk about the Obama nuclear deal because it was a terrible deal. Trump was right to get out of it. But we are going to look forward.
Taking away my argument here.
Yes. We're going to look forward.
Yeah.
Does Iran make a deal?
Iran is very much in a position where it better make a deal, because if it doesn't make a deal, I do think we're going to see military action.
B-2s in Diego Garcia, B-52s inside of
We're just weeks away from bombing of the Houthis, cost $1 billion, and the president didn't even blink. Prime Minister Netanyahu was here a couple of days ago. He had to swallow hard in the Oval Office and accept the fact that the president wants to try diplomacy. But he understands that if this fails, he has a green light, and I think that's what we're up against right now.
Do the Iranians understand that?
Well, they probably, in their heart of hearts, hope it's not true intellectually. I'm sure they do at a certain point. But, you know, Iran has faced major military consequences for the past year, over the past year, for its actions. Israel has neutralized its defenses, undermined and destroyed its forward arms through Hezbollah and Hamas. And I think they need to have some realistic assessment of what they can negotiate. And if they try to leg it out like they did with President Biden, quite frankly, they blew off President Biden. They were close to returning to the nuclear deal. And the consequences were not severe. I think this time we'll probably see a different outcome.
Donald Trump and his other spokespeople and some of his national security staff have been quite forceful on this issue. Here's Caroline Levitt about the consequences of not making a deal.
His ultimate goal and the ultimate objective is to ensure that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. The president believes in diplomacy, direct talks, talking directly in the same room in order to achieve that goal. But he's made it very clear to the Iranians, and his national security team will as well, that all options are on the table, and Iran has a choice to make. You can agree to President Trump's demand, or there will be all hell to pay.
All hell to pay. We learned the consequences from both Barack Obama and Joe Biden not backing up red lines. Does the Trump administration have the attention of Iran that they will?
You know, I think they have the attention, but I do want to also point out it's very important that these are strong threats. But still, there is a debate within the White House about whether or not military action is the wise course. And we're seeing it even on the outside. Tucker Carlson, for example, saying those who call for war are enemies of America. And in many...
Why do you think that is? Why? Look, you send a few B-2s over, use bunker busters, go in, eliminate Iran's nuclear weapons program. Iran's already tried to hit Israel. Well, it didn't work. What's the debate about?
There's a lot of layers to it, but the short one is that it's going to take a massive military effort to truly eradicate a nuclear program, and it's going to need to be verified, and that means there's going to need to be ongoing strikes, and that's a heavy lift. And the concern is that it's going to explode the region and suck us into another major Middle East war. I'm not sure that's exactly how it will play out, but I guarantee you the American people do not want to get sucked into another major Middle East war. And so the idea is here, if we can get out of the nuclear conflict,
the pictures we're looking at is
that's where we want to go.
Bombers stuck in Diego Garcia, which is the closest.
Yeah, that's a real threat.
In Iran. It's interesting, though. I have been doing this same story since I was a young Mideast correspondent in 2010. When is Israel going to bomb Iran? This is different, though, because this is not talking about Israel. This is talking about the United States. How does that make it different?
It makes it very different because if the United States is involved, that means that the bridging capacity, the continual bombing raids can be executed properly. And also, we can't overstate it enough. The past year of military action in the region by Israel in essentially eliminating the Hezbollah threat from north and in hitting into Iran itself and neutralizing its air defenses, that is a significant game changer. And that's why I think the Israelis say they have a window of opportunity now, but they need American support to really make this stick and be a hard bombing campaign that would not cause a greater rupture in the Middle East.
All right. How significant is this weekend?
Well, this is the opening salvo in diplomacy. This is where Steve Witkoff is going to assess whether or not he can be directly in the room. They're not going to be in the same room. Then they will hopefully get to the same room if they have a nice dialogue between the Omanis. And then there's 60 days. I think this is just the beginning. This is not going to be detailed negotiation. And we'll see if he comes out there saying we can make a deal, then they'll go forward with more details.
The Iranians only have ever responded to strength.
Yeah.
The fact that there's B-2 bombers right now parked a couple hundred miles from their shores, does that change their calculus?
Well, I think it's clearly that the impact and the suffering and of the losses over the past year we've discussed, as well as the maximum pressure sanctions campaign that is trying to be put back on, all of that has to get their attention. They'd be very wise to take this threat seriously to their security, because if the 60 days go past and there's no deal, I do think that the Israelis are going to put the pressure on. And I think that President Trump's going to say he can't find a diplomatic path out.
Good to see you, Joel. As always, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Joel Rubin.